Does emotional labour and service work promote gendered occupational segregation? This is our chosen topic. My name is Hassan Latif.
My name is Haider Ali.
My name is Safira Rauf.
My name is Amanpal Sohal.
What is emotional labour? Who dominates the social sector? The different theories of gender segregation, masculinity and femininity, and are times changing?
3 defines emotional labour as management of human feelings during social interaction in the labour process. So what this means is workers create a fake identity for work with their customers. The workers are the soul of the company, so the way they act reflects their business. So there's a few facts on employment in the UK, which is taken from Nixon 2005. Service work is the most common in the UK. It covers 80% of employment. Since the 70s, male employment has declined, yet for women it has increased. Therefore, women dominate the service sector. According to Alcock et al. 2003, 2 out of 3 women dominate service work. In turn, occupational segregation regarding gender occurs. Uneducated males remain unemployed. Therefore, high-level well-paid roles are dominated by educated males. Men struggle to find long-term secure jobs because most jobs are linked to emotional labour, which men avoid because they prefer masculine roles. As a result, service roles have replaced manual employment. So, do women dominate the social sector? According to Nixon 2009, gender plays a key role. Service work is emotionally based, therefore it leads to gender segregation. Women are more suitable for such roles. They are known as caring, friendly and attractive. In turn, these characteristics meet the requirements for such roles. Roles that require excellent emotional management, such as sales, retail, customer service and domestic roles, are pretty much female dominated. Presentation is key. To look good and sound right is what is expected in service work. Therefore, service with a smile means workers must always have a smile on their faces. Women find it easier to manage emotions and match customer demands in comparison to men, who spend most of their time interacting with customers. So my personal experience reflects gender segregation. I am currently working at Tesco as a checkout assistant, therefore I have a very important role. I am the last person the customer will see, meaning I am the face of Tesco. This is the message ingrained into our training from day one. As a result, I play a key role. I have to smile all the time. This is why emotional labour comes in. No matter how I am feeling, I have to cover my emotions. The characteristics of my role consist of smile, friendly attitude and good appearance. I have to smile and be enthusiastic. However, it is not as easy as it sounds. Covering up your true emotions is a skill and not an easy one. At times I feel like I have a fake identity. Customers can be very rude and impatient, yet I have to remain calm and make them feel important. My role requires a lot of patience to deal with emotional labour, hence why it is a skill not everyone is capable of. In my opinion, it is not worth the money. I do not always enjoy my job. From my time working at Tesco, I have come to the conclusion that emotional labour and service work does lead to gender segregation. For example, on my department, which is the checkouts, we have face-to-face interaction with customers, and the majority of workers on this department are in fact female. Whereas on other departments such as stocking shelves, it is male dominated. Similarly, the majority of managers at Tesco are also male, which should suggest that males do in fact take up high skilled roles. I will be discussing this later on. So another example to support this view is the Air Hostess Society. Hochschild did a study on Delta Airlines Training Centre, and what he found was that females dominate this role. According to online statistics, in 1980, 19.3% of workers were male, and in 2007, it was 26.4%. This shows that less than half of the population is male. So when women undertook their training, certain elements constantly stressed that it is important to smile, and your smile is your biggest asset. More women than men go into such roles, as we can see from the statistics above. As customers, we have expectations from employees. We know what to expect and nothing less will be tolerated. My point is that the majority of service work roles are in fact dominated by women. You will rarely see a male flight attendant. We have come to the point where any job that requires interaction with customers has an expected level of emotional labour. In this case, the stewardess has to smile, look good, remain polite, and never show that the customer is anything but right. This has become the norm and is what customers expect, hence why females dominate this role. From the start, females have dominated emotional labour because they perform it better than men. Such roles involve empathy and care, which is a naturally feminine asset, which may suggest why women go into such roles, because they perform them better than men. Women are naturally nurtured to be caring and loving. I believe that women dominate part-time service work because they have other responsibilities such as childcare. Therefore, service work is more suitable for them. On the other hand, men have more free time than women in terms of childcare and housework. Therefore, they may have more time to learn new skills and go for high-skilled or hands-on role that occurs in a masculine environment.
As previously mentioned, women dominate service work that entails emotional labour. Such examples are nurses and primary school teachers. My primary school was primarily dominated by women, whereas men made up the minority. This example clearly outlines gender segregation within certain jobs which use emotional skills. Feminists take a critical view on the segregation. They believe the working environment benefits men as they are able to use their power to dominate in working environments at the expense of women. This can be considered viable to a degree. In my primary school, even though women were part of the majority, the head teacher, which is typically seen as the chair of authority and power, was in fact a male. Feminist thinking can be applauded in this sense. Stats on labour segregation show that 2/3 of women work in a place where they outnumber the opposite sex to a ratio of 2 to 1. Many are pointing to the fact that women also make up a large part of the emotional labour force. Lupton found that men are put off applying for traditional women's jobs due to their attempt in preserving their identity. Emotional characteristics are seen as more dominant in women than men.
Statistics from Wolby support this notion. This table revealed by Wolby shows the distribution percentages of gender in knowledge and industrial sectors. The table reveals that in all managerial and skilled trade cases in the service sector, the employment percentage for men rather than women is higher. This could be due to masculinity. However, in admin and secretary roles in the service sector, the percentage for women is much higher than men, maybe because it is seen to be less masculine. Added to this, from my personal experience, I am working in an accounting firm. All the receptionists are female, which supports the literature by Wolby, as there are far more female receptionists according to the data. 21% are female and 6% are male. The manager is male, which supports the literature by Wolby, because there are 19% male managers and only 11% female managers. This reveals that this data is accurate, as I have experienced this in my daily life.
A theory that we defined was masculinity. We found out that low-skilled men dominate masculine roles, such as warehousing, distribution, and social services. This is because interaction with customers is low, alongside the emotional labour needed. Authority and power is seen as masculine, thus, social services roles are more appealing to men, hence why they are male-dominated. They dominate hard and manual labour due to the lack of education and skills that are needed for them. That's why they are stereotyped as masculine. Also, stress relief is also achieved through these roles. For example, swearing and play fighting is normal in these roles, such as factories and warehouses. Low-skilled men also find it difficult to hide their true feelings and engage.
In Hale's 2012 literature, Barrett, Sasson-Levi, Lornell, Morgan, and Hale 2007 identified military as masculine institutions, not because most of the population is male, however because they comprise of a crucial environment for the construction of masculinity in the larger society. So this reveals that the environment is masculine adapted. Added to this, qualities such as being strong, decisive and eager are considered important for the development of military masculinity. So in Hale's social constructivist approach to masculinity, masculinity is described as a vague concept but comprises values, experiences and meaning that are culturally interpreted as masculine. Cultural contexts ascribe to men more than women due to settings and environment. Men don't follow predetermined biological rules in the physical organization. They don't grow from infants to boyhood to manhood, however men are made. Men make themselves actively constructing their masculinity within a social or historical context. Hale also reveals a construction of masculinity in organizations. The notions of masculinity are the expressions of deep structures within the surrounding culture. The organizational or institutional settings in which men reside play a necessary role in the construction of their masculine identities. Various research revealed masculine roles consisting of lawyers, American farmers, and firefighters. Collinson and Hare in 2001 argued that multiplicity and diversity should be recognized in the workplace. Hale also gives us an example of a female belonging to a military community. She states that, "When I joined this terrorist unit, I hadn't been in that environment for 24 years as I was going back home, and that is the sense of community. There is a strong sense of community and that feeling of belonging." This was Jane, Army officer. Jane's interview reveals how she felt at home. This is an extremely powerful way to describe and reveal the strong culture of military. Also, the way she was responding reveals how the army environment can give a female masculine attributes.
A theory that we found was the glass escalator by Williams. This is when men, in a sense, get kicked upstairs to the administrative or management position. This also enhances the pay and authority while they are in these positions. Many female colleagues unknowingly encourage men for these high positions, as this is in their general nature to be kind and friendly. But due to the pride and ego of men, they are less likely to encourage women, as they feel they are the perfect candidates for these positions. They can also use their masculine attributes to their advantage over the women colleagues, for example their strong and authoritative nature.
We also found another theory conducted by Ruth Simpson in 2005 that she has categorized men who are in female-related jobs. The three types are finders, settlers and seekers. Finders. These are the people that find a female occupation by chance or through their more career decisions. They could be promoted into these positions or accept them due to the circumstances that they're in. Settlers. These are the people that don't feel comfortable doing male-related jobs. This could be due as they feel intimidated or feel threatened by more masculine type people. Third type is seekers. These are the types of people who set out to find female-related jobs from the start.
Another interesting sphere within this topic is the study of genders which make up a minority in a dominated workforce. Firefighting is a perfect example as it is typically dominated by men. Typically, men dominate the emergency service sector and women dominate the care services. In the US, stats show that women make up a measly 7% of the firefighting workforce, with even fewer a part of the volunteer sector. There were around 1 million career and volunteer firefighters in 2014, of which 7% were women firefighters. Of this 7%, 31% were career firefighters and 69% were volunteer firefighters. These figures are slightly higher in Australia as women are said to make up at least 10%. These stats clearly highlight the differentiation between the gender force within firefighting. It has been mentioned that women dominate the service sector with their perceived emotional skill advantage over women. This reflects how certain occupations are gender segregated. Retail is dominated by women. Stats in 2010 from Skill Smart Retail reflect that around 58% of retail employees are female. However, this isn't the case for all service sector jobs. In my father's retail store, he has frequent male applicants applying for unpaid work experience. He has also an equal amount of males and females on his payroll. In doing so, this example shows how the retail service sector isn't always segregated, and also argues against literature which points to how women dominate the service sector. CFA is an Australian firefighting organisation. The Country Fire Authority is one of the world's largest and most highly regarded community-based emergency services. They respond to fire and other emergencies 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This organisation was used as an understudy by Ainsworth et al. In their research into women's constructive masculinity in volunteer firefighting. From their research, they have provided evidence which points to how gendered occupational segregation exists in volunteer firefighting through the segregation of male and female roles and their use and non-use of emotional labour. It can now be said this statement is true regarding women in the volunteer firefighting sector. Why does this segregation exist, and why do women make a minority in the fire service in both paid and volunteer sectors, you ask? Ainsworth et al. Went out in search to find why women fail to exist in great numbers in volunteer firefighting. They plan to research into new grounds by concentrating on non-paid firefighting. From the women they researched, they found two common denominators in their responses. The first was problematic masculinity. The women questioned actively declared how in firefighting masculinity is heightened and how firefighters is seen as heroic and physically dominant. These attributes aren't associated with the female gender and so forth, they aren't given certain occupations which have such traits. The second was more of an eyebrow-raising insight into the work. This research is true with my own personal experiences. Being involved in a fire emergency, the woman that attended the scene was the first to reassure me and my family and showed extreme emotional skills in keeping us calm in a seemingly horrific situation. This highlights how men and women who take part in volunteer firefighting are told stereotypical traits associated with their gender to conform to certain roles within firefighting. This highlights how women are forced to conform to stereotypes but choose to do so. In a way, gender segregation can be said to be a result of men and women's natural behaviours. In saying this, gender occupational segregation can be said to be a theory of the past as times are changing. Roles within the emergency services which are typically dominated by men. This trend is supported by Lupton as he highlights how service representatives we discussed on TV with recruitment crisis and nursing. They attributed this to the fact that women have a wider range of job opportunities than in previous years. This source highlights how more and more women have moved out of traditional gender segregated roles which encounter women to use their emotional skills in the service sector. CFA actively tries to encourage women to volunteer in the fire and emergency services to promote one-day previews within their daily routine. They are also known for taking part in, holding and marketing frequent women conferences. This reflects how organisations are trying to promote women within services which traditionally entail male-dominated occupations which harvest minimum emotional labour.
Has gender segregation changed over time? During the 1970s, there has been an increase of women entering male-dominated jobs. An example of how gender segregation has changed over time is how they have changed the names of the occupation as more men have started taking up these jobs. For example, delivering babies and bookkeeping were associated with women, but as times have changed and more men are coming to this field, they have changed the name of the occupation. Delivering babies has now become doctors, and bookkeeping has now become accountants. Between 1950 to the 1960s, many states never acknowledged men in female working related jobs. For example, male nurses weren't recognised during that period. However, since then, there has been an increase in male nurses. For example, the males make up 10% of the workforce in the UK and the USA. Even though this may not be a distinctive figure, they have come a long way from not being recognised at all to make up 1/10 of the workforce.
As a group, we have come to the conclusion that emotional labour in the service sector leads to gender segregation. Masculinities and femininities form the base for our arguments. They are social constructs which are developed through and exist within roles. From our work, we have highlighted how gender segregation has resulted due to emotional labour being asserted to females, whereas men have adopted to use more of their non-emotional traits. The stereotypical view that women dominate emotional labour needs to be removed from society in order to encourage more males to partake in such roles such as nursing, childcare and primary school teaching. Social change is required. Masculinities and femininities need to coexist and be accepted by all. Although times are changing, we still live in an era where stereotypical views around emotional labour and service work still exist. This attitude needs to be changed in order for more men to go into such roles and not to be seen as less masculine. This proves to be the same for women to go into traditional male roles without an effect on their femininity. As we have highlighted, many service sectors have realised this very issue and have done a wide variety of events to help overcome this occupational gender division as a result of emotional labour in the service sector. This shows that labour is becoming more gender neutral and old traditions and attitudes are being replaced with new ones. In a perfect world, the service sector would be a ratio of 1-to-1 with male and female employees. However, this isn't the case, but the future looks promising, especially for women firefighter volunteers. Instead of society and businesses looking at male and female stereotypical traits negatively, we should recognise and appreciate our individual personal assets and how they can benefit society, individuals and businesses alike. For example, women joining the emergency services is great for halting gender occupational segregation in firefighting. We should appreciate women involved within firefighting as the profession needs emotional support as well as physical traits which men and both women can perform equally.
Question 1. How has your experience highlighted different gender expectations? So, since I have worked for Tesco, the security has always been male. Whenever incidents with customers have occurred, the security alongside other male workers will come to resolve issues. From this, I believe it shows that females are not capable of dealing with troublesome customers, and that it is more of a masculine role. Women are just good at smiling and looking good. Men lack patience and struggle to put on a smiling face. Swallowing pride and dealing with problems is difficult because men like power and authority. Question 2. What is the impact of the emotional labour you identify on employees? I believe that emotional labour causes stress, job dissatisfaction and psychological distress. It has different impacts on different people. For example, at Tesco, on many occasions I have seen male checkout staff being sent home or disciplined for being rude to customers because they struggle to hold in their true emotions and can become verbally aggressive at times. Therefore, I believe that this shows that males struggle to cover their true emotions, whereas females are more relaxed and calm and are more suited to this role. Question 3. Do you think gendered occupational segregation is justifiable? From a business point of view, yes, because it makes them more money, as women perform such roles better than men. However, for society it is unjust. It stops males and women from entering roles they may want to do, because they are worried about affecting their reputation and identity. However, gender segregation is justifiable in its own circumstances. For example, people who work in warehouses and lift heavy boxes tend to be more male-dominated. Even though this is gender segregation, this is justifiable, as the business would have more men as it is more efficient for them.
We hope you enjoyed our presentation. Thank you for listening.